There are times when we can get very upset with our spouses. The key is to know how to control that anger and realize that disagreements can be healthy. To tell us more, we're joined by marriage counselor Dr. Rita DiMaria. Welcome back, Dr. DiMaria. Yes, it's normal to get angry, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And
yes.
when you hear of couples that never, ever argue?
Actually, that worries me more than anything, because that means those people have really stuffed a lot of feelings, and those are the situations where generally then people just ultimately one day they blow up the whole, it's a Mount St. Helens, and the relationship's over because they don't even have any way to deal with it. So it's actually healthier to share what's bothering you on a more ongoing basis. And you said control. If people think you can control anger, you really can't control it. Once it starts and escalates, you've got a problem. So it's really learning how to pay attention to it.
We've all known couples who fight constantly.
Yes.
That's not a good sign.
That's not healthy either.
No. So there's got to be some kind of happy medium here.
That's right. Well, having anger is a normal feeling. And sometimes these days people say, oh, you have to, anger management from the movie and all that sort of thing. But really, it's an important sign. Anger tells me that there's something you're doing that I don't like. So the question is, how can I communicate with you about that?
Yes, without saying, you stupid.
Right.
Bleep, 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 bleep.
Right. And that's where, the danger starts. Because once you start calling somebody names and you start escalating, all of a sudden now you feel entitled and that there's something wrong with the other person, and that what you're feeling and what you want is really what counts. And the more emphatic you get, and now it begins to escalate, and you either get two people escalating or one person escalating and another person getting really frightened and pulling away. And then you really can have a lot more problems, because the person pulls away and then the other person goes after them, and now they're standing in the door, and now people are really frightened, and that's when it starts to get a little scary for people.
Well, let's talk about anger management tools.
Sure.
What do we need?
Well, I think we have to be able to say, I'm angry, and to know that anger is a normal feeling. But not to ambush our partner and just say, boom, here it is. I'm angry, I want to talk about what's bothering me. It's simple but hard to learn how to do that. And as kids, we're not really taught very well. And in school, we're supposed to maintain, our control, like you said in the beginning. And so we haven't really done a good job helping people deal with anger. A lot of people think anger is just bad, period,
Right.
But it is a very helpful, healthy emotion. And couples who can express themselves on a regular basis, they know where each other stands. They know what bothers the other person. And, you make accommodations for that.
Some people express their anger by raising their voice, and it just gets louder and louder and louder. What if that's just the way they've always been?
It's usually what they've learned. Right. And unfortunately for men, when they get angry, that's what happens. When we get angry, our body actually pumps blood and oxygen into our extremities, our voice. That's what anger is supposed to do. It's supposed to mobilize us to take some kind of action to protect ourselves or defend somebody else. So it sort of is a normal part of it. And especially between men and women, it can get a little scary. If a woman grew up with a father who was very angry, but also in my classes, when I'm teaching classes, when I try to get everybody back together, I usually use a bell and I have this little whistle, because most people are very allergic to a woman yelling, because who yelled at us? Our mothers. So, women learn that and men learn that. So it really isn't constructive, but it's a normal part of anger that we get louder, that we get pumped up.
And some of us get weepy. If I'm really angry, it really makes me mad, because I start to cry. And then I feel, I'm looking like I'm weak right now. But It's just because I'm so angry with you, it's almost like every emotion is just coming out of me in the form of tears.
Right. The important thing to do with that is to breathe. Take a breath. You're entitled to your feelings, and then try to express it in a direct way. I'm really angry. Maybe it seems like I'm really hurt, too. We can be angry and hurt at the same time.
So if we're really angry, should we just take turns? I'm really angry because...
Oh, sure. If you can do that, that's a great idea. And actually, I encourage people to ask permission. If I'm angry at my husband or my daughter or my son or a friend, if I could say, I'm angry at you, I'd like to tell you about it, kind of like, will you give me permission? All of a sudden now you feel you have some power, that I'm not just going to be attacking you.
Right. That's a good way to approach it.
Right. So, and then if you can share that, that's terrific.
When can anger be dangerous?
Well, I think when you start to get physical, when, you start throwing things, when you start blocking people's exit, somebody gets fearful and wants to leave the room and you stand in their way, or you start to make threats, if you do this, then I'll do that. It begins an escalation process. It really gets dangerous, though, when people start to punch and slap, kick. You know, we have a whole continuum of it. And usually for most people it doesn't get to that extreme. But yes, we really have to pay attention to those warning signs. And if I feel really threatened by someone, I need to tell them, you know, what you're doing makes me feel threatened.
Where is the line between expressing your anger and getting it off your chest and emotional abuse?
Well, emotional abuse, I think these days, name-calling, things like that, people do consider that abusive, where before maybe it wasn't so much. But the minute you're telling somebody that there's something wrong with them, if you think about it, you really are trying to put them down. You're trying to control them by words, maybe not by physical force. So, you know, it depends on how we want to look at that word abuse. It makes people nervous. Oh, I'm not an abuser, you know, but name-calling is destructive. When we're not trying to help someone feel better about themselves and we're intentionally saying, you know, you're a jerk or you're this or you're lazy, it really is an attempt to have the other person feel badly about themselves, which will weaken them.
That doesn't get anybody anywhere.
It doesn't get any. We all know that. But, you know, it's bad habits. It's what we've learned. It's what we've been exposed to. And that's what I teach all the time. I tell people we have to learn new relationship habits.
Right. Change those habits and make it positive.
Right. And express our anger constructively.
Good advice. All right. To learn more, why not sign up for one of Dr. Rita DiMaria's free relationship classes? Just visit her website.